you shouldn't become a league that is only relying on imports, because that way you kind of neglect European talent, and that would be better on a long term, because like you wouldn't, if you like rely on Korean or Chinese imports for 10 years, you don't really, then it's hard to kind of transition back to Europe,
you
right?
kind of become NA, right?
Yeah, you I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, but it was obviously there.
Yeah. You become like NA.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining to the next episode. And today I'm joined with Didi, who is the CEO, founder, and the League of Legends team manager of Double Bluff Esports, which is a League of Legends team currently playing in the 4th division of Prime League. And when I connected to Didi, I was really excited to interview him because they are just starting. This is a new organization with a huge potential. So I was curious to know about their struggles, everyday work, and so on and so forth. And I'm really happy to have him here. Thank you for joining.
My pleasure. Hello, guys.
So to start things off, I know that many of us are very passionate about esports. Otherwise, they wouldn't be watching this right now. And many have thought about like turning this into a business, but sadly, not many do it. So what inspired you to start the team and the organization?
So basically, for my background, right, I was in football for 13 years in prior to esports, and I was also always a person that was very competitive, right? I always wanted to compete, and after I stopped playing football, it felt like something was missing. But even when I was playing football, I always wanted to manage stuff as well. You know, I always wanted to have like my own little football club, like Football Manager and stuff like that. But you can't do it, right? Because you need like the infrastructure and a lot bigger preparation at the moment. And then when I met with League of Legends, with esports in general, I got really hooked with esports scene of League of Legends. I just loved it because prior to that, the esport that I was watching was FIFA. And in FIFA, it's like one-on-one, right? In League of Legends, I really like the team aspect of playing the game, you know, improving as a unit. And that's what really hooked me. So I got hooked to League of Legends esports very, very soon after discovering League of Legends, actually. And I would like to be a player myself, right? But I'm a bit too old and a bit too mechanically bad to be one, you know. But I do have other qualities. So I was doing a lot of research. It was like an idea in the back of my head to kind of combine the passions. And I was toying around with the idea for a while, until one day I decided to give it a go, you know, to see how I would do. And yeah, now 15 months later, we are here.
So like, what was the final push? So you had this idea. I'm sure you have been toying around with it for a while, but then something clicked for you, right? So what was that specific moment?
It was just, I realized that as a player, I couldn't play it. And then it was, why not? Like, this is something that I wanted like all my life, essentially, to kind of be with the team, to manage a team. And it was, if I don't do it now, I don't know if I ever will, you know, and essentially if I wouldn't try, I would always regret it. So I decided to just go with it, you know. I prepared everything that I needed to prepare, you know, that I thought that I will need. At the end, I needed much more, you know, but that's just how it is, you know. You learn along the way. But yeah, it was just like one day I decided, you know, I thought this through. I'm playing with the idea for a few months now, and I didn't, because if I would like do it in the first day, like I would be, I want to own an esports organization, and then I would do it, right? I wouldn't know if that's actually something that I want to do or if that's just like the spur of the moment thing. But I was like, I couldn't think of something. Of course, you can think like of the bad things that could happen, right? Or the negatives, but I was always like, I want to try it, right? And if it fails, you know, if I'm not good at it, at least I will know that I tried. So I just decided to do it. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so it's great that you have such an optimistic approach to everything.
Yeah.
And since you are also managing League of Legends team, I would like to learn more about the tryouts. How did you organize them, and like what were some of the criteria for you for choosing the best players?
So I decided, first of all, I had to decide in which league I want to compete in, because I'm from the Balkans region, and the Balkans region has EBL. It's just one league, and to be honest, it's not on the very high level yet. Like the whole Balkans region, 10 teams or 8 teams, sorry, compete in one league, and the spots are, you can buy a spot, right? And that's something that's, as a person or like as a sportsman, I don't really like. I believe that sports in its essence is the competition, and you should be able to compete for spots. Like, you should be able to earn that through good play, you know. I don't think that, I do understand the reasons behind the franchising and stuff, of course. I just don't think that that should be something that would be widely common, because, as I've said, yeah, I believe that you should compete for that. And German Prime League has a really good system. It has 8 divisions. So you have only one first division, one second division, 2 third divisions, 10 fourth divisions, stuff like that. And it's like, essentially, it's like a pyramid scheme, right? And there is like 1,500 teams in the whole scheme. And you just, essentially, you earn your way to the top, which is not something that's very common with some other ERLs, sadly. Yet. So I decided that I will play in the German Prime League, that my organization will play in the German Prime League. And for that, we needed 3 DACH players, which is 3 players from Germany, Austria, or Switzerland. So I was just looking. It was the first, you have to remember, like the tryouts that we did, it was like my first experience, right? I didn't know where I could get the best players or how do I find them. So I was just kind of going through different media like Twitter, some league clients, stuff like that, even Reddit. And I just tried to find players that would be interested. The condition that I did have was that they had to be at least Diamond 2 at the moment. And then we ended up with, of course, like I talked to them, right? Because I also value good personality. I value positivity. So I was doing I did, I think, 100 interviews in 3 weeks, right? And we essentially gathered 20 people that were interested for different roles. And we tried them out in in-house scrims. And in-house scrim is the variant where you get a bunch of players and they play against each other, and then you like swap teams and stuff. And then eventually you get to see who fits the best together. And this is how we gathered our first iteration of the roster, and that was in November 2021. And we actually, one player that we got in November 2021 is still playing in the team right now. It's really nice, to see him develop, and he's the captain as well. But when you once have like a core of the team, then me personally, I am a person that is highly in favor of keeping the team together, not demolishing the roster at the first bad split, because I did play football, I believe that it takes time to build the synergy, but once when you get the synergy, you're much, much better. So if you change the roster every 2-3 months, then you don't even give them the chance. Of course, there are sometimes the issues because you don't play at the highest level yet. Stuff happen, so you have to change some things. But essentially, we never exploded the roster after the split and then got the whole new tryouts. We usually kept 3 or 4 people, and then we just tried out 1 or 2 together with the team, with the core of the team. And yeah, that's how we got up until this point. Always every season try to improve the team. Now essentially, as I've said, we started with the minimal requirement to be Diamond 2. And right now we have a team that consists of a challenger picker, 2 grandmaster pickers, and 2 high master pickers. So it's just essentially building the team, improving it. When somebody leaves or when you part ways with somebody, you just need to use that opportunity to bring in somebody who's even better, to upgrade the team. And then eventually you will climb your way on the ladder, if that makes sense. Hope that that answers your questions, because it was...
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Okay.
And I actually have a follow-up. So you mentioned about synergy and how you like to help players develop it together.
Yeah.
So my question is, is there anything that on the coaching side that you do specifically to develop that synergy? Or is it just like playing together as much as you can?
It's like a process, right? Since I'm the manager, I find people, I interview them, I see who is appropriate to even get the tryouts, because like to even get the tryouts with the team, there needs to be like a common chemistry between me and the player, or like not me and the player, but it just needs to, you need to see that like the player that you will try out is like a positive person, you know, eager to improve. Essentially the goal of Double Bluff Esports when you talk about League of Legends is to one day win worlds, right? As much as it sounds like crazy, you know, right now, I believe that whatever you do, you have to do it with one goal, to be the best. Otherwise, like, why would I even do it if not even me would believe that we can do it? You know, who would believe if I wouldn't believe, if that makes sense? So essentially, it's also like finding players that want to be professional players, you know, because we have to scout through the amateur pool, in the pool of the players that are really high on the ladder, but not professionals yet. You know, we are kind of... we open them the doors to get into professional scene. You know, they can prove themselves in the lower divisions. And there are some people that are like high elo, but they don't really want to play professionally, which is fine, right? But then you need to make sure that at least with our philosophy, this is not the player that we will take. We will take players that want to one day win worlds as well. Because you want to avoid clash of interests when it comes to the team, right? Because if you build a team of 5 players, 2 of them are like big grinders that want to succeed, and 3 of them play casually, there will be a clash eventually, you know. It's kind of the maybe G2 2021 what happened, you know, you paired people with different mindsets. Of course, it's like stretched comparison, but I think that you know where I'm going with this. But yeah, when you have the players, of course, making sure that nobody is toxic, nobody is somebody that would cause issues in solo queue. When you have the players, then you essentially just work on them getting along, which is playing as much scrims as you can to improve, because usually when the results are better, it's going to be easier for them to fit together as well, you know, because everything is easier when you're winning. But also we are doing like team building sessions, stuff like that. We also hang out together, play some flakes games, even when we're not screaming, you know. It's just building the synergy through different activities, and hopefully you get there one day.
So I went to your website and I went through the list of players, and I saw there are a lot of nationalities.
Yeah.
So what's your experience in managing like a multinational team?
I would say that for sure, when you talk to so many people, so many players from different regions, you see some differences. I wouldn't say that there is a rule, right? I wouldn't say also that there is like a issue when it comes to nationality that would like that there would be some issues that would present themselves because of nationality, and that is because we speak English, obviously, and English was never an issue. At least for the players that we have, so there was never any language barriers. But also, if you're not playing in the LEC or in first division, you don't really do stuff together offline, right? You do stuff online, and this is where I believe it's harder for you to encounter a problem, because if you like, let's say G2, they live in the same gaming house, you know, there will be some maybe problems because people will be used to different stuff, you know. But with us, because we do everything over the computer, you will not really encounter these problems. At least we didn't have any of them yet. Hopefully that will hold for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's great that you don't have any problems with that. And actually, the reason why I'm asking this question is because when we're talking about EULCS and now LEC, at one point, especially the very, very successful 2015 Fnatic squad with Huni and Reignover, at that period of time, it was very common for European teams to have imports. But then for some reason, it stopped. And now during the past 2 years, we see that the trend is coming back, and especially in the top lane, like where we see a bigger disparity that European teams are bringing more are bringing more international players.
Yeah. It's on that topic, I think that it's a bit different on the higher level, because let's say if you import a player from Korea, obviously the money is a lot bigger in LEC, right? So they have the funds to do it, and then also if they import it, they have like, let's say in traditional sports, I have a background in that, as you know. Some of the years that I played like on a professional level as well. And let's say if you look at the best football clubs, the amount of the money they're spending to just make players feel comfortable is crazy. So you can do that. If you're like G2, if you're Fnatic, you can do that, right? You can import somebody from Korea and make sure like you can even bring their family. You can hire somebody to maybe in the first months translate stuff. You can spend some money to make them feel more comfortable, right? And in the lower divisions, you don't really do that, because you don't have the funds, firstly, and then also the pool is big enough in Europe to build a competitive roster. It's just if you wanna push yourself over the edge, if you want to do something extra, maybe like Vitality did with Photon and Bow, this split, it's good. I feel like you shouldn't become a league that is only relying on imports, because that way you kind of neglect European talent, and that would be bad on a long term, because like you wouldn't, if you like rely on Korean or Chinese imports for 10 years, you don't really, then it's hard to kind of transition back to Europe,
you
right?
kind of become NA, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
But it was obviously there.
Yeah. You become like NA. But I feel like it's good. If you have like a core of 3 Europeans, and if you manage to find like 1 or 2 Koreans that would fit in good, I think that's a really good way to bring your roster to a new high. Like I use Vitality as an example, because I think that they did really well this offseason with their imports. But yeah, that would be...
So you have a lot of responsibilities in the team, like organizing everything and also managing the League of Legends team. So how do you balance everything?
I would say that from the start, my role kind of developed, and as you know, like I am the founder, CEO and owner, so I have the responsibilities that come into that category, but I also have the responsibilities of managing the team as a GM, and that's simply because I did found an organization as a League of Legends organization, and there's a reason for that, right? And as I've said, like I love League of Legends and everything about its esports, so I'm really tied to the scene, connected to the scene, which means that I enjoy doing all of it. The issue appears like right now we are transitioning, we are becoming way more serious, we're knocking on the doors of professional organizations, and then it's really hard to do more roles, because like I could do it, right? I could be CEO, I could do the stuff like, because I have to like take care that social media is okay, I have to like talk to partners, stuff like that, and then I also have to like do the organized scrims, get new players, make sure that everybody is feeling well, and I could do it, but I wouldn't be able to do both things 100%, right? And if I can do both things 100%, I would prefer not to do both things. Like I prefer to do my thing 100% and then bring in another person that would do their role 100%, even though it would be hard to let go. But as I said, like to your question, right now, because we're still transitioning, it's still possible to do both roles with the time that I have, to the quality that I want them to be done. But slowly, as we are transitioning, there will be somebody else that will have to take care of league team, because in, let's say, G2, right, with Carlos Ocelot, he was very tied to the League of Legends branch before the stuff happened, and it's different in like 2016 G2 days. And like 2021, where he had to like talk to sponsors, he was like the face, he had to be everywhere, you don't really have time to do both anymore. But yeah, for now, because we are still on a smaller scale, we are an up and coming org, I still do find time to manage both.
Yeah, I absolutely understand how time can be a challenge. And I would also like to ask, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced so far?
Competitively or?
Actually both. Both as like an organization while you were trying to set up, and also competitively.
Competitively, I would say, well, let's start with the organization. I started with like my computer, my Discord, and passion, right? That was the three things that I had. So kind of getting to know the scene and adjust to how the scene works, that was a big challenge, because esports obviously does have its specific stuff that are tied to esports only. So that would be the challenge when it comes to like organization wise, because you also have to get to know people, right? You're just one of the 1,000 organizations that is getting like created every year, and you need to like put in a lot of work to become like the best out of these 1,000, you know, to like build connections. So that was maybe the biggest challenge in the first year. Competitively, when you create an organization, there are two types of organizations that get created. One is like a community one. This is what we are not. And it's basically just creating a gaming community and then building some teams out of that. But those are essentially like for fun organizations in like lower divisions. And the second type is to create an organization with the goal of like becoming a pro organization, eventually like becoming the best org in Europe, right? And this is what we are, right? This is what we want to be. So we are the second type. And with the second type, the challenge that comes is because we are competing in Germany. You can just go to a sponsor and say like, give us a certain amount of money and we will buy a spot in the first division, you know? It doesn't work like that. You have to like start in the lower divisions, in the lowest ones, and then you need to climb your way up, right? So it's annoying because if you talk to like the players that are really good, or you want to have like some Grandmaster Challenger players, you're not going to get them because they wouldn't want to waste their time with the lower division team, right? Because like even if you have like the best coaches, the best structure, everything, they still essentially lose like a year or two before they get to like the divisions that they want to play in. Germany has 3 splits where you can like promote 3 times in a year, just for context. So you have to start, like you always need to build a team that will win you the division, but it's really hard to build a team that would at least until like division 4 where it becomes like a lot more serious. But it's hard to build a team that would consist of the players that you could say like, okay, these people will maybe one day win worlds, you know, because the people that are like the best on solo queue ladder, they will sadly not want to play in the new teams, right? Because it's too much of a risk for them. And that's totally fine. But yeah, that was the big challenge. And as I've said, like we kind of transitioned, like we got a lot of new players. We always were striving to improve. And right now, I'm happy to say that we have 5 players that I can see each of them like playing in the LEC in 2 years, right? But that was not the case when we first started. But we as I've said, we kept 1 player from the starting roster, so it's really nice to see that as well. You know, the development that he made in this 15 months of working together.
It's great to see that you are so happy with your current roster and like see the huge potential in them. I would certainly be happy one day to see them in LEC, or of course maybe with your team in LEC.
We'll do our best.
and so it's very clear that you are very passionate about League of Legends and that it's your main focus right now. But do you maybe have any plans of expansion into other esports for now? Yeah.
So basically, in my opinion, esports is something that will take over traditional sport in 50 years. Basically because, as we know, like the world is going towards the virtual stuff. You know, the kids these days, they spend their time playing on computers and not outside kicking a football. Also, it's if you look at the like population right now, if you talk to somebody who's like 35, 40, 45, they probably didn't grow up with the computer, right? So they only use it for work purpose. But in 50 years, you know, when I will be 70, 75, 80, I will still like remember my gaming days, you know. So it's just as we will grow older, like the older generations will be the ones that grew up with computers and as well, you know, and will be the ones that will, like you said, that you watch a lot of LEC. I imagine that you will do that in 20 years maybe as well. Like maybe if your dad is watching football right now, you know, he's watching it because he played it when he was a kid, you know. And same goes for esports, in my opinion. You know, if we invested so much time into esports and like if we played League of Legends or FIFA or Fortnite or Minecraft or whatever, you know, you will still remember that when you will be 50, 60, you know, you will still, like, if there will be a channel on the TV that will be like esports, you will watch that, you know. So what was the what was the question again? Sorry, I lost it.
It was about like plans of expanding into other esports.
Sorry, yeah. So but what's the difference between esports and traditional sports is that you it's hard for you to rely on one game yet, because we don't know if League of Legends is gonna crash tomorrow, you know. So you can be like, if you create a League of Legends only organization, and if Riot decides to stop funding the game, League of Legends could go like could lose all of its player base. You could like essentially lose all of your hard work. With creating other branches in other sports, it's like if you have 10 teams in 10 different games, if one of them dies in a way, you still have 9, right? So it makes sense out of like a business view to create a name and then expand into different sports, so you are well covered. You know, you don't put all of your eggs into one basket, because that way, if that basket goes to you, you're also like your hard work goes nowhere, because then like the fans that you gathered from League of Legends, they won't have anywhere to transition to, you know. But if I like grow up playing FIFA, and if I cheer for, let's say, Fnatic in FIFA, if I start playing League of Legends, I will also start watching Fnatic in League of Legends, you know. So it's kind of like gathering the base together, the player base. And of course, like in the future, I think that at the start, when you're like establishing yourself, it doesn't make sense to be in 5 games, because you kind of you bet on quantity, not on quality. But right now we are very we did a lot in the League of Legends branch, and we established ourselves as an organization, like with the social media presence and everything. And then now slowly it will make sense for us to also go into other games as well, you know. But that requires like a lot more people, a lot more like infrastructure and stuff like that. So that is a challenge in its own, a big one.
What do you think about like the current state of League of Legends, especially when we're talking about esports, not just the game?
Could you maybe elaborate on the question a little bit, like what exactly? Meta?
So yeah, sure. Basically, there was franchising several years ago. Some teams, for example, Unicorns of Love, was forced to move in CIS, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. And also there was a Nordic League that currently doesn't exist anymore. So what do you think the competitive scene of League of Legends is still going to evolve?
Yeah.
And whether there is a place for new teams and new organizations in it?
Yeah, I think that it will evolve. I'm hoping that in the future we will move away from franchising the LEC, because I think that it's kind of crazy. Let's look at probably the most known ERL team at the moment, which is KC, right? Carmine Corp. They could potentially create a roster that would be the best roster in Europe, right? With the money that they have, they could do it. But it's crazy that they wouldn't even be able to compete for Worlds because of the franchised LEC, you know? So they could be like by far the best team in Europe, but they couldn't even go there. Which is why I don't like franchising, because it's kind of closing doors in a way. Sure, you have like EU Masters, you have French ERL, you know, you can be good there. But the big thing is always Worlds, you know, you want to be the world champion, and that doesn't happen like, because you are not European champion if you win EMEA Masters, but you are if you win LEC, you know. So I'm hoping that in the future, LEC will maybe expand the slots a bit, and they will add like relegation system, because it also benefits the league, you know, because that way you don't have some teams that like, we bought a spot, now we can like field academy roster every week, and we are not in the danger of being relegated, you know. We can just like play it slowly, and that hurts the competitiveness, in my opinion, especially because we do have some teams that did that in the past, you know. So overall, I'm against franchising, but I do think that things will change, you know. There is a reason why maybe NBA is franchised, right? But we have a totally different situation here. Esports wise, League of Legends is evolving a lot in the last years, especially behind the scenes, and for people that are involved in it, you know, the level of the ERLs, like how much ERLs evolved in the last 3 years, it's really crazy. And I think that will only improve in the future, you know. So yeah, I do think that League of Legends is nowhere near its peak, contrary to what some people are saying, but those are mostly the people that have no idea about how like the stuff work in the scene. So yeah, I think that League of Legends is here to stay, and I think that it will evolve and will be a lot bigger in the future than it is right now still.
What are some of the advice you would give to people who are interested in starting their own esports organizations? How would you suggest them to get started?
I would say first make sure that it's not like a one day thing, you know, that you're not like, oh, I want to start it, but then you start it and then you after 1 month you see that it's not like all sunshine and rainbows and you just close it, you know, because that sadly is like 90% of the scene right now. Like there are so many people, I can't even explain you, or you can't even imagine how many small new orgs are getting like created every month, but then like most of them disband because like you encounter a problem, like the players are not the best yet, like maybe you get into an argument, you don't promote in the first split, you know, you get like a bad streak or like 3 people argue and then you just say like F this shit, you know, I'm out, it's actually not what I want to do. And I know people that did that, and it's sad to see, you know. So my first advice would be ready to fail as well, because we did fail a lot of times, and we will fail a lot of times. And I know that it's saying like, oh, we won worlds, but we failed, you know, we're nowhere near that, you know. But even for our scale, we did fail a lot of times, and we're still here, and we improved, and we're growing. So that, yeah, just make sure that if you want to do it, be ready to fail and still be committed to it, you know. So make sure that it's not something that you want to do just because it's fancy or because you want to win worlds, but you're not willing to put in the efforts, you know. It's cliche, but there's like a lot of blood, sweat and tears to like get to the highest levels. So yeah, it's just do it, but be ready that it will require a lot of hard work, and you will also go to bed sometimes like sad because you fucked up a promotion or something, you know, but that's just how it is, you know. That's how sport works.
Yeah, I guess it's in every industry where you want to basically make a passion into a business or some way somehow you earn money. For example, music as well, right?
Yeah.
You have to work hard and be among the top percent to be able to earn money with that. So I guess it's the same attitude in here.
Yeah, it's also like a lot of years where you put in like your work for free, you know, to get to the point where it's actually, as you said, like you're in the top 1% where it's monetized. So it's just only do it if you love it, right? Because if you love it, you will be able to do it even if it's free, if you're not getting paid, until the point where you will be getting paid. Because if you're doing it for the money, you know, there's money only at the top, so you will have to work hard to get there, and you will only be able to do that if you love what you're doing, right? If you love the hours that you put in for that.
It's again really great to see the optimism that you have towards the league, towards your organization, and it's kind of it translates to me as well. Like after listening to you, I'm kind of confident that you are going to succeed in this.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Same.
And one thing that actually. This question came from someone from Reddit, and I asked it for the first time in the first video to Pete.
Okay.
And the question is like, if one day you win Worlds and you have a chance to pick your League of Legends skin, what will be the champion?
It would be Evelyn for sure. I'm a jungler. As I've said, I play a lot of League myself, and I am kind of Evelyn one trick. So... not one trick, I play a lot of champions, but Evelyn is by far my favorite one. I know that most of the people turned off the video right now because I'm invisible and it's a bullshit champion, but I just like it so much. I got hooked with the KDA All-Out Universe. I think that it's really cool. So yeah, it would for sure be Evelyn if I were to pick it, but I'm not going to win as a player, so I don't think that there is any worries for that.
So maybe by the time you win it, CEOs can do it too.
Maybe. Let's hope so.
Okay, so thank you so much for your time and for joining. I really enjoyed talking to you. and I hope to talk to you again sometime on a much larger scene.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me as well. It was a pleasure. And I want to say to you as well that I really like your project. I really like what you're building here. And I really hope that, and I believe that you will create like some sort of a really big esport community where you will be able to kind of show to the viewers how it works, you know. Also like the scenes, the backgrounds, you know, like may show how big esports actually is, you know. And I'm really happy that you decided to do that, and I will watch the future episodes as well with pleasure. So thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you so much. You just keep motivating to keep doing.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Right. If I can say one final message, can I do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. As I've said, it's cliche again, but if somebody wants to see how things work behind the scenes in a small organization, I know that like you can see your Fanatics, G2s, TSMs, stuff like that. But if somebody is curious about the roots, like where these best players come from and how they start, you can follow us, because we are trying to do stuff in a way where we already show, like we stream all of our games, we show like voice comms, stuff like that, which is something that smaller orgs don't usually do, because it doesn't make sense for them to do it with like investing time into it, because it doesn't have such a big reach. But this is something that makes us different, right? You will be able to see how it works and kind of follow the organization that is maybe on its way to glory. You know, they said like sometimes the journey is the goal, you know, like you have most fun during the journey. So if somebody is curious how it works, you know, behind the scenes, and what do you need to do to like get to the level that you then look at every Saturday, Sunday, Monday in the LEC, we're the organization to follow, and every follow helps. We appreciate everybody who is taking interest in us. So I believe that there will be our socials in this video descriptions. So yeah, if you are curious about that, we would appreciate a lot if you would give us a follow.
Yes, the links will be there, absolutely. And again, I forgot to ask people to subscribe to my channel as well, so I'm going to do it right now. Thank you for watching this video till the end.
Thank you. See ya.
Hey, Arek here. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please don't forget to subscribe, as we have more videos about esports coming quickly.